Mr. George Orwell, a writer of acute and penetrating temper and of conspicuous honesty of mind, died on Friday in hospital in London at the age of 46. He had been a sick man for a considerable time. Thought he made his widest appeal in the form of fiction. Orwell had a critical rather than imaginative endowment of mind, and he has left a large number of finally executed essays. In a less troubled, less revolutionary period of history, he might perhaps have discovered within himself a richer and more crafty power of imagination, a deeper philosophy of acceptance. He was essentially the analyzed by turn indignant, satirical and prophetic of an order of life and the society in rapid dissolution. The analysis is presented to a large extent in autobiographical terms. Orwell, it might fairly be said, lived his convictions. Much of his early work is a direct transcription of personal experience, while the later volumes record in expository of allegorical form the progressive phases of his disenchantment with current social and political ideals. The death of such a searching and sincere writer is a very real loss. George Orwell, which was the name adopted by Eric Arthur Blair, was born in India in 1903, of a Scottish family, the son of Mr. Richard Blair, who served in the opium department of the government of Bengal. He was a King's Scholar at Eton, which he left in 1921, and then at the persuasion of his father entered the Imperial Police in Burma, where he remained for 5 years. After that, he was by turns dishwasher, schoolmaster, and bookseller's assistant. The name he adopted comes from the river of Orwell. His parents were settled at Southwold in Suffolk. At the time he decided upon it. Orwell preferred to suppress his early novels. Down and Out in Paris and London, his first book, published in 1933, is a plain, observant, and for the most part disappassionate piece of reporting, which archives without faltering precisely what it sets out to do. Orwell had starved in a Paris slum, and in England had trampled from one casual ward to another, and the lesions of this first-hand acquaintance with poverty and dissolution were never afterwards lost on him. Hello, in time, he grew fearful of theoretical egalitarianism. He made no bones about the primary need of security, social justice. In The Road, the Twiggen Pair, which appeared in 1937, he described the lives of those on unemployment, pay or public assistance, and made his own contribution to socialist propaganda. Next year, he brought out his homage to Catalonia, and outspoken and at times impassioned account of his experience and observation as a volunteer on the Republican side of the Spanish Civil War. He had joined not the International Brigade but the militia organized by the small Catalan party, predominantly syndicalist or anarcho-syndicalist in temper, known as POUM. He was wanted during the fighting road UNESCO with deepening anxiety and embitterment. He had noted the fanaticism and ruthlessness of communist attempts to secure at all cost. Even at the cost of probable the fifth political ascendancies over the Republican force. It was from this point that his left wing convictions underwent the transformation that was eventually to be projected the Animal Farm in 1984. First, however, a few months before the outbreak of war in 1939, he published Coming Out for Air, the book which is his nearest approach to a novel proper. It was not his first published essay in fiction. In Burmese days, published 5 years early. He had written with notable insight and justice of the administration problems of the British in Burma and of the conflict of the white and native peoples. Through the personal story tackled on to his treatment of his subject was weak and rather lifeless. The book suggested clearly enough, indeed, that Orwell was something other than a novelist. Yet, in Coming Out for Air, for all that it sought to present in a picture of the world before 1940, a warning of the totalitarian shape of things to come. He recaptures the atmosphere of childhood with a degree of truth and tenderness that is deeply affecting. Here was the creative thought one sought in the later books. Rejected from the army on medical grounds, Orwell in 1940 became a sergeant in the Home Guard. He wrote spasmodically rather stably during the war years. His picture of Britain at war, published in 1941 under the title The Lion and the Unicorn, was a brave attempt to determine the relationship between the socialism and the English genius. A volume consisting of 3 long essays inside the wheel, one of which was the entertaining, if occasionally somewhat wrong-headed, study of boys' popular weeklies. Process that appears in 1945 of Animal Farm. In the guise of a farewell, Orwell her products a blistering, most amusing satire on the totalitarian tyranny. as he was it that in Soviet Russia masqueraded as the classless society. The book won wide and deservedly admiring notice. In 1984, published early last year, the promotion of the totalitarian wrath to come had developed in a sense of fatalistic horror, in Orwell's vision of a not too remote future, in Strip Wine, the new name for Britain in a wholly totalitarian world. Men had been conditioned to deny the possibility of human freedom and to will their subservice to an omnipotent ruling hierarchy. The book was a brave enough performance, thought it fell a good way short of the highest achievement in its kind. Orwell married in 1933 Miss Helen South Nestle. She died in 1945 after an operation, and last year he married Miss Sonia Brownell, assistant editor of Horizon.